According to the U.S. Census Bureau poll, 57.6% of black children grow up without their fathers. To put that into context, 31.2% of Hispanic children and 20.7% of white children grow up without their fathers. In other words, your favorite rapper probably grew up without his pops. But while these men have been absent in their children's lives, only one man is known to actually hate his son, Curtis James Jackson. However, 50 didn't always hate his son, because a man who hates his son doesn't spend $1.3 million in child support. So when did this hatred begin? So to help you understand why 50 Cent and his son hate each other, we need to go back to the 1980s, when the crack epidemic began in New York, and tell you the story of a young boy who had two options: to get rich or he dies trying. Surviving Queens. 50 Cent was born and raised in the South Jamaica neighborhood of Queens, a borough in Queens also known as the South Side. But life for 50 when he was young is a direct contrast to the life he lives now. He was a kid growing up in the largest officially designated poverty area in the city. This hood also had the highest amount of carjacking, and there was a little matter of a drug epidemic in the city. For the people who lived in South Jamaica, they had a soft spot for white powder. These are all the issues that 50 had to contend with, and he had to deal with these issues without proper parental guidance. His mom was a drug dealer who gave birth to him when she was only 15 years old, and she died when 50 was just 8 years old. His father, well, he was simply not in the picture. The only father figure that young 50 had in his life are the OGs in the street. These men were also 50's first examples of what successful life looks like. These were the role models in the hood. But unfortunately, these men were also drug dealers. During this period, most of the men do two things: either do a blue-collar job or sell weight. This was why there was a lot of gangs in South Jamaica who ran different parts of the hood. There was the Corley gang, run by James Wall Corley, and they operated out of South Jamaica houses. Another cartel was led by Lorenzo Fat Cat Nichols, while a third cartel, the Supreme Team, operated out of Baisley Park houses, and they were led by Kenneth McGriff, aka Supreme. Supreme and Ja Rule. Now, Supreme is an important character in our story, as he is one of the major reasons why 50 Cent and his son hate each other. The Supreme Team was a well-structured organization that was making the equivalent of 500 racks per day. The gang's top members were Prince, who was Supreme's cousin, Bimmy, Puerto Rican Righteous, Baby Wise, and Black Just. Black Just and Supreme were 50 Cent's role models. Black Just was his big homie, and the one who took him under his wings. He bought 50 a GS XR motorcycle, encouraged him to learn how to box, and even paid for the gym that 50 trained in. During this period, 50's name in the street was Boo Boo, and he had to start selling by the age of 12. Unfortunately, Black Just and 50's relationship didn't last, as he was accidentally shot by a man who was aiming for Supreme. But 2 years before Black Just was killed in 1999, 50 and Supreme's relationship had already started to deteriorate, and they would start seeing each other as enemies. Supreme was released from prison in 1997, and this time he was trying to go legit because he realized that hip-hop was on the rise. This was also around the time when 50 Cent had just began his career. Supreme joined the Murder Inc. crew and partnered with Irv Gotti, Chris Gotti, and Ja Rule. Now all you know, 50 and Ja don't get along.
So yo, 50, what's the definition of a wankster, man? I mean, what is that?
Ja Rule, Irv Gotti.
I'll tell you personally, the Murder Inc., the people that you see like Irv, Ja, the people that are involved in the business aspect are just like these don't got no hood in them.
Now you got to understand that back then, 50 was an up-and-coming artist, while Ja Rule was the big star. And Ja Rule was bringing in money for Supreme. Ja Rule was Supreme's meal ticket. He always told 50 to leave Ja Rule alone and not beef with him, although 50 never listened. Y'all know 50 is only gonna do what 50 Cent wants to do. But what would eventually ruin their relationship is the song Ghetto Quran. On the song, 50 mentioned all the major drug dealers in New York, including Supreme. Supreme categorized this as dry snitching, which means 50 was exposing him to the cops. So Supreme decided he had had enough. 50 was attacking his artist, disrespecting Supreme's orders, which of course was affecting his street cred, and now was airing his business in public. Therefore, Supreme ordered 50's death. Reality imitates fiction. 50 Cent was shot 9 times outside his grandma's house by Daryl Homo Bomb. 50 obviously survived, but for Supreme, he was found guilty of conspiracy to murder and drug trafficking. And on the 9th of February 2007, he was sentenced to life in prison. But the story of 50 and Supreme didn't end there, because 11 years after Supreme was given a life sentence, this picture appeared on social media. To you, this is just a picture of 2 black men, but to 50 Cent, this was his worst nightmare becoming reality. This picture is exactly why you need to understand the history between Supreme and 50. It's why he is important to this story, and it's also one of the major reasons why 50 Cent and his son, Marquise Jackson, hate each other. I'm sure you can tell which one of them is 50's son just by seeing the picture, but the man next to him is Kyle McGriff. Does that surname sound familiar? That's because you also heard it earlier, as Supreme's full name is Kenneth Supreme McGriff. That's right, Kyle McGriff is Supreme's son. And 50 Cent didn't hold back when he saw this picture. Underneath the post, he commented that if Kyle and his son got hit by a bus, he wouldn't have a bad day. Seeing his son take pictures with the son of the man who had shot him 9 times surely drove 50 over the edge. Although Marquise later stated that he didn't know who Kyle was when the picture was taken. This was still a pivotal moment in the relationship between 50 and Marquise, and it showed how much 50 Cent can't stand his son. But it's also a moment where reality imitates fiction, because on the TV show Power, which 50 is one of the creators of, and which he also stars in, the son of the character that 50 Cent plays works for the enemy and sides with the enemy against him. Still, the issues between 50 didn't begin with this picture. In fact, there was a time where 50 and his son almost couldn't be separated. This was during the period 50 Cent was in love with Marquise's mother, Shaniqua Thompson. 50 and Shaniqua. In the early 2000s, 50 and Shaniqua were undoubtedly in love. 50 helped raise her daughter as his own, while Shaniqua was the one who helped nurse the rapper back to health after he was shot. She also helped him stay alive by allowing him to stay in her mother's house in Pennsylvania while 50 was recuperating. But after some time, the duo separated in 2008, and this led to several court battles. Shaniqua sued 50 Cent for $50 million, telling the court that they had an oral agreement for the rapper to take care of her for life. 50 got aggressive during the deposition, but luckily for him, the judge tossed out the case. And on the Friday of the same week, Shaniqua and her children found themselves running for their lives. Marquise, Shaniqua, and her daughter live in 50's $2.4 million mansion in Tony Dix Hills. But at around 4 a.m. on the 30th of May 2008, the house caught fire. Shaniqua claims that she saw someone throw a Molotov cocktail into the house. Shaniqua stated that she believes 50 is responsible for the fire. She claimed that he tried to kill her and his own children after he supposedly threatened to have someone visit her. However, 50's lawyer stated that the rapper was filming in Louisiana at the time of the fire. Still, after this incident, 50 Cent and his son were still on good terms. When Marquise was just 13 years old, 50 opened an online shoe store for his son because he realized that Marquise had a penchant for sneakers. But it didn't take too long before their relationship would eventually hit a roadblock. 50 stopped visiting his son, didn't call on his birthdays, and he didn't go to Marquise's high school graduation. The rapper revealed that the reason his relationship with his son became strained was partly because he disagreed with the way Shaniqua was raising his son. He believes that the way Marquise was raised is why he's become quite entitled.
Let's say now that he's starting to like females, he's conscious of what kind of shoes he want to wear. I need these Jordans, the retro Jordans is coming, different things. And then his mother go, all right, I'll get them for you, but it just bothers me because you're supposed to have them all. So while being a privileged child, he feels deprived.
Child support, and financial disasters. 50 Cent stated he paid a total of $1,369,400 in child support. He also revealed that at some point, he was paying Shaniqua $500,000 per year, which equates to $40,000 per month. But despite his whopping sum, the baby mama still tried to squeeze him for more money. While most rappers are dragged to court by their baby mamas for child support, with 50, the opposite happened. 50 knew that with the 500 racks he was paying annually, he was already paying Shaniqua more than he needed to. So when she asked for more bread, 50 Cent took the matter to court and allowed the judge to decide how much he should pay for child support. The court reduced the child support from $500K to $80K per year. 50 was now paying $6,700 per month, but someone stated this simply wasn't enough.
Listen to what I'm saying to you.
Right.
$6,700 a month, right? $6,700 a month in the state of New York City. You do the math.
Well, since Marquise wants us to do the math, here's a breakdown for you. New York City, alongside Singapore, are the most expensive cities in the world, and it is certainly the most expensive city in America. And in the Big Apple, a child is entitled to child support until they are 21 years old. 50 and Shaniqua was separated in 2008, when Marquise was just 11 years old, which means 50 had to pay child support for another 11 years. Remember, 50 said he paid $1,360,000 as child support, and $1,360,000 for 11 years is actually $10,303 per month. But Marquise says it was only $6,700 per month, which according to him wasn't enough. I don't know who's capping here, but let's stick with Marquise's figures. Is Marquise entitled? Marquise stated that because he is a child of a celebrity, a Forbes A-lister, someone who flies a private jet from time to time, $6,700 is just not good enough for him. Some folks see this as a clear case of a young man who believes that because he is the son of a celebrity, a certain lifestyle is expected of him. In other words, a man who's trying to satisfy supposed societal standards rather than living within his own means. Unfortunately, this would justify 50's point about his son being entitled, but Marquise doesn't care what anyone thinks. Instead, he put up a post on his Instagram account showing off some cash, insisting that $6,700 isn't enough money. Marquise went as far as stating that he would pay his pop $6,700 so he could spend time with him for 24 hours and do all the things he wanted to do with him when he was a kid. And you know 50 has to reply to such disrespect, and when he did, he replied in a way only Curtis Jackson can.
I had to rebuild my life over with $6,700 a month.
Marquise, I know you feel like
this is crazy. You're 25 years old. Why are you still talking about child support?
After his Instagram post, Marquise has since talked to TMZ stating that he is ready to pay even more than $6,700 if that's what it will take for him to get a sit down with his father. However, in an interview with Charlemagne, 50 stated that he doesn't believe Marquise is ready to talk. 50 stated that if Marquise is truly ready to talk, he will reach out to him rather than contacting TMZ.
You know, Fifth, everybody wants to know, is there a possibility of you, you know, actually your son wants to sit down with you?
No, he doesn't. See, Charlemagne, you would call me. You don't call TMZ to say you want to sit down. Think about it, man. You know, you want some attention. And it's okay, you can have as much of that as you want.
Why 50 and his son hate each other. 50 has since stated that his situation with Marquise has taught him that while we all chase and pray for success, we don't necessarily pray for the things that come with it. The rapper also stated that his success has unfortunately cost him his son.
Fifth, you love your son?
I used to. You ask yourself how long, a complicated question would say, how long can you love something that don't love you back?
50 has continued to state that he no longer loves his son, and on an Instagram live video, the rapper even stated that he would pick Tekashi 6ix9ine over his son.
You see your son yet? Nah, I ain't heard from 6ix9ine. He's his mother's child now. He told on everybody. He better than Marquise though. I take him before I take my actual father.
50 Cent and Marquise have shown that they simply cannot stop going at each other. In fact, Marquise has since gone on to drop a diss track against his father titled Different, and now we just have to see whether 50 will reply or not. And whether you believe that 50 hasn't been fair to his son, or whether you agree that Marcus is entitled, let's just hope that at some point, the father and son can settle their differences.